You're listening to the Hustled Up podcast. I'm Laura Natoli.
And I'm Holly Silva, and we are best friends since birth turned multi-passionate entrepreneurs and co-owners of Chores and More, a successful service-based business where everybody is treated like a best friend.
Welcome to our show where tactical business education meets fun and real conversations about this wild journey called life.
Get ready to be inspired. Grab your headphones, turn up the volume, and let's hustle up.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Hustled Up. I'm your host, Laura, and I am tackling this one solo today. Unfortunately, Holly is feeling a bit under the weather, so she was not able to hop on this recording today, but that's okay because I have a super fun topic planned, and it's definitely a very meaty, tangible one. I got some notes here. Before I dive into that, though, if you are loving what you are hearing and watching now that we're on video, please pause this and rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. We are on a ton of different platforms now, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or even on YouTube. So if you missed the memo that we are doing video podcasts now, definitely go check that out. Okay, I have a really cool topic today. I'm going to be giving you guys 3 tips on how to nail the sales process. And these are some pretty specific things that you can start doing immediately. And I feel like, yes, they are somewhat geared towards cleaning businesses, but I really feel like these are applicable for any kind of service-based business or really any business where you are making a sale. And I do a lot of my selling over the phone. I really very, very rarely do in-person estimates anymore. So these are pretty geared towards phone estimates specifically, but a lot of the things I'm going to share with you can be transferred to in-home estimates as well. So we're going to be going over those 3 tips. So if you are intrigued, stay tuned.
Are you tired of spending your entire weekend cleaning when you could be going out to brunch with your girls?
First of all, I love brunch. And second of all, yes, there are so many things I could be doing instead of cleaning my house on the weekend.
Oh yeah, like playing video games.
Or watching a movie with the kids.
Going on a date with your significant other.
Taking your dog to the dog park.
Going to the movies.
Solving world hunger.
Yes! Exactly. So this is why it is such a good idea to call up Chores and More for your deep and recurring cleaning needs.
And do you want to know something really, really cool?
What?
If anybody mentions Hustled Up when they call to book, they can receive up to $100 off their deep cleaning.
Up to $100 off. What are you doing still sitting there? Pick up the phone now, mention our podcast, and never have to spend your weekends cleaning again.
Simply go to choresandmorellc.com. You can fill out our request quote form there, or give us a call, send us a text, 631-397-0177. It is time to get back to doing the things you love. Let us take care of the cleaning.
All right, welcome back. First tip, and this one seems so obvious. And before I even dive into the tips, I should say I am the salesperson, the primary salesperson for my company. So I have done a lot of research on this. I'm in the middle of taking an online sales course because honestly, nobody ever really taught me sales. I did do a lot of the in-home estimates when we used to do it that way, but once we decided to only quote over the phone, I kind of had to teach myself. And it's been a learning experience, and I feel like I am getting better at it, and I'm learning every day. So I'm really excited to share these tips with you. But this one, the first one is kind of obvious, but also not so obvious. And the first tip is to answer the darn phone. Period. Answer your phone. You get a sales call, pick it up. And what I mean by this is, and I went over these stats actually on the episode when we got back from Texas, but I'm going to repeat them just in case you missed that episode because they are too good not to hear, because these stats seriously blew my mind when I learned them. So 93% of businesses take 24 hours or longer to get back to a lead. 93%. Are you freaking kidding me? Do you not want business? Like, I'm just a little confused by that. And I say that and I sound really arrogant when I say that. And I don't mean to, because let's be real, when I was the one out in the field cleaning, I never answered the phone. I was too busy with my hand in the toilet to answer the phone, honestly. I often let calls go to voicemail, or maybe I was scared and I let calls go to voicemail because I said, oh, let me see what they want first. Let me make sure, it's an ideal client or whatever. So I used to not answer my phone all the time. This really took some learning, some discipline, and honestly getting out of the field to really, really be on top of my incoming leads. But 93% of businesses. So if you're answering the phone, you're already doing something better than 93% of businesses out there. This one also blew my mind. 78% of consumers purchase from the first person to respond, particularly if you respond within the first 5 minutes. And we've been referring to this as speed to lead. You may have heard us mention speed to lead, speed to lead. We're saying it all the time in the office. A request a quote form comes in through our website. I'm like, speed to lead, get me a lead sheet. I got to call them right away. And it sounds crazy, but it's so true. And from personal experience, I can say that this is 100% true, and we say it all the time, but speed is the new currency. And this is exactly why I decided to switch from in-home estimates to phone quoting, because I always had this false belief that, well, if I don't meet them in person, I'm not going to be able to make that one-on-one connection. I want to go in, I want to meet them, I want to shake their hand, I want to make that personal connection, which, yes, it is a lot harder to do over the phone. It definitely takes some skill and some practice to make connections over the phone. But it is possible, I will say. But more so than making that connection, what I'm finding is that what clients actually find more valuable is just getting somebody in quickly, getting that number, the price quickly. That's what they value, most of them. Now, some people once in a blue moon will say, hey, I'd really prefer it if you would come see my space. And I will make exceptions here and there, especially for businesses. I find that a lot of businesses or commercial properties want me to come in person for an estimate, and I will make an exception. For the most part, though, I do not. And speed to lead has really it's proven really tried and true for us, because I've had somebody call literally today. Actually, I had somebody reach out. They requested a quote through our website. I reached out to them immediately. They're already in the schedule for next week. And I couldn't have done that if I was still quoting in person. I would have had to set up the estimate, have set estimate days, gone to see the space, okay, look through, go home, send them their quote. Who knows? I used to take literally 24 to 48 hours to get somebody a quote. And now looking back, I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm surprised that they didn't call other companies. I mean, maybe a lot of them did. I don't know. But now I'm able to do it so quick, and it's so effective. So really, and I've seen it work the opposite way too. Just the other day, I had somebody reach out at like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And now our business phone is turned off. We're working really hard to set those boundaries. We turn that business phone off after 5 p.m. and you can't reach us. It is what it is. I can make outgoing calls and whatnot, but you can't reach us. The call goes right to voicemail. I'll get your voicemail. Somebody reached out for a quote at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I got back to them the next morning, but I forgot what I was doing. The morning I stepped into the office, and normally the first thing on my to-do list is get back to any quotes that came in the night before, or if it's a Monday, get back to everybody who came in over the weekend. But for some reason, I got caught up in some other tasks, and I waited till maybe 10:30 in the morning to get back to this lead. Texted them, and they said, oh, thank you so much. I already found somebody else. Thank you. From 7:30 at night to 10:30 the next morning, they hired somebody else because I did not practice speed to lead. And let me be very clear here. I'm not saying take calls outside of business hours, because again, this is something that I'm working on. Sometimes I'm tempted. And if you are in a period where you want to grow and you're okay with taking calls outside of business hours, then that's fine. I'm at a point where I'm really working towards balance. So I am choosing not to take calls outside of business hours unless it's something urgent. But I'm not saying take calls when you're busy or with your family or outside of business hours. I'm saying that the second it turns, 9:01 or 8:01 or whatever time you get into your office, call the leads back. If you're in office and a quote request comes in, call them back. Sometimes you can't. Today I was on the phone with a lead. Another call's coming in. Obviously I can't take that. But what did I do? The second I hung up with that lead, call them right back. So speed to lead is so important. And I can tell you, these numbers are not wrong. Because when I first heard 93% of businesses are not answering the phone or calling back within 24 hours, I was like, that seems a little high. But then I really thought about it. And I do this thing, which you guys might be like, this is sneaky. But I do this thing where I shop the market at least once a year. I call other cleaning companies in the area, ask for a gift card, figure out what their hourly rate is, just because I want to make sure that our prices are fair, right? I want to make sure that we are charging what the market can bear. I don't want to be unreasonable, but I also don't want to be undercut. So, I shop the market at least once a year, and I did this a couple months ago, and I kid you not, I called 11 companies in the area. 11 companies. I got 3 people on the phone. 3 people on the phone who I felt did not nurture me, and I'm not trying to talk smack or anything like that. I mean, I have some really good connections in the area, really great cleaning company friends that are just incredible. So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people that I don't know. I just called random companies that I'm not familiar with. And nobody answered the phone. And even crazier than that, nobody called me back. Because sometimes I will miss a call. And if they don't leave a voicemail, I still call them back. And I just say, hey, it's Laura from Chores and More. I got a missed call from this number. Can I help you? It's as simple as that. And it could be scary, right? It can be kind of scary. Oh, they didn't leave a voicemail. I don't know who they are. That's okay. Just call them back. And if this is something that does bother you, luckily, I'm not that shy when it comes to making phone calls and whatnot, but I know a lot of people are. Like Holly, for example, she hates making phone calls. We've talked about it all the time. And I know other business owners that are really afraid to make phone calls too. My first piece of advice would be to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That would be my first piece of advice. But if it's something where you're like, man, I really just, the thought of answering the phone without knowing who's on the other line or what they want makes me so uneasy, and I'd rather eat glass than do that, then you can actually hire something called a phone answering service. This is a real thing. This is the thing that I know some business owners that do this. They have a phone answering service who will screen the calls, get the calls first, take the notes, and then the business owner can call them back to quote. For me, this is something that I would not outsource or spend my money on. There's other things I'd rather outsource and spend my money on. I spend my money on a company that outsources my hiring process, where I do all of the interviews, but they set it up. They set up everything. They run my Indeed account because that's worth it to me. So for you, if you're like, man, if I would just absolutely love it, if I could get somebody to answer those calls, screen those calls, so I know what I'm walking into when I pick up that phone and call somebody back, do it. Spend the money. You kind of have to decide what's worth it for you to spend money on and what's not when you own a business. So, whatever you have to do, hire a VA. Hire a VA to answer your phones. Whatever it is that you have to do to start answering those calls and not letting all those leads go to voicemail, do it. That seemed really like a simple one, but I spent a lot of time on it because I do think it is honestly the most important tip that I'm going to give you. Answer the phone. All right, next. This one's a bit simpler. So my next tip would be to take detailed notes during your sales call or estimate, whatever you do in terms of selling your business. Take very detailed notes. And I mean like pen and paper. I mean, if you're, an internet girly or guy and you'd rather have your notepad open on your phone or use your laptop, I personally like good old fashioned pen to paper. So man, the second that they start speaking, I am jotting down any little tidbit of information that they give me. And if they took the time to fill out a quote request form, I'm jotting all that down before I even call them. Because when I call them, I want them to know that I spent time reading what they wrote to me. Even if it's something little like, 2-bathroom house, only cleaning 1 bathroom. I'll repeat this information back to them so that they know I got your information. I took it down. I'm going to make sure that we use it. And this goes for anything. And people will give you gold. And I know some people on sales calls you have to pry information out of, and that's fine. But some people will give you gold, man, without me even asking. Some people will say, oh yeah, I had a service and they were always late and they never let me know. And I didn't really mind so much that they were late, but I just really would like to know because I got to get the kids on the bus in the morning, and boom. They just gave me a gold mine of information, and you bet your butt I'm writing all of that down. Okay, punctuality is important to them. Even more so than punctuality, communication is important to them. Okay, they have young kids that they have to get on the bus. Maybe this means they'd prefer an afternoon slot. You kind of have to dissect what they say and also ask questions as they give you information. But it is so important to jot down detailed notes, especially sometimes it's a matter of safety. Somebody will say, oh, I have a dog. It's not friendly. We're going to keep it locked in the garage. Do not enter the garage. You better make sure that you write that down, or you are putting your employees in danger. So it's a matter of safety sometimes. It's a matter of showing the client that you listen to them, that you care what they have to say, that you're going to follow through and do what they ask for. I love to ask clients, what's most important to you when it comes to cleaning the house? Or if they had a previous service, they say, hey, what did you love about that service? Or what did you maybe not like? Why are you looking to switch? And that information is such gold that I'm going to jot down everything, even if it doesn't seem important. Even if, it doesn't seem relevant to the pricing or to the cleaning or whatever industry you're in, jot it down because it might be useful later on. Okay, that one's pretty simple. I mean, at the end of the day, as human beings, we all just want to be heard. We want to feel listened to. And what better way to show your clients that you really care about them than to write down what they say and use it to make their experience even better? So it's a pretty basic one, but important. The last one's a little more complex. My tip for you is to cater the sale to the potential client's personality. And this may sound weird, but hear me out. So I know we've talked a little bit about the DISC assessment test on this podcast. I don't know if you've heard, we've done a couple episodes where we mentioned it. I'm by no means an expert on the DISC assessment. I really want to do some more research. But if you learn the basics of the DISC assessment test, you can actually, right over the phone, start to be a little detective and kind of like snoop and figure out what the client on the other line's personality is and how you can best serve them. Because even if, take the DISC assessment out of it for a second, we're all different. We all have different communication styles. We all have different things that are important to us. Some people just want to know the price. They're like, hey, how much is it going to be? Some people want to ask every single question under the sun. They want to make sure that they know exactly what's going to happen before we come clean, while we're there, how long are we going to take? So maybe I start to say, okay, let me cater the sales call to this person's wants, needs, and personality. And the reason why I think the DISC is so essential when making a sales call specifically is it's really hard to get a read on people over the phone. This is again where speed to lead, speed is a new currency. It's so important. But if you're doing sales over the phone, you kind of do have a little bit of a handicap going into it because you can't read the person's body language. You can't see, are they smiling or not? You can't see, do they have a calm and relaxed demeanor? You just have to go by their voice. So a couple things I like to do is I like to match their energy. If it's somebody that I can tell they're talking really fast, they're in a rush, they have somewhere to go, they told me that they only have 5 minutes and they got to hop back on a work Zoom, I'm going to be quick. I'm not going to sit there and go over every little detail of every package that we have. But somebody who's more quiet, calm, relaxed, I'm going to really take my time. I'm really going to make sure I nurture them, take my time with them, and spend a lot of time explaining what it is that we do. And if you are familiar with the DISC, you can really take this a step further because the DISC assessment, it's basically a personality test that you take. And I took the test, Holly took the test, our right-hand woman, Ashley, took the test, and we found out that Holly and I are basically exactly the same on the DISC, and Ashley is the exact opposite of us in every way. Which is why she's going to come into the office and be exactly what we need because she is like the yin to our yang and we balance each other out perfectly. Me and Holly are way too alike. We're like, we need somebody to come in who's got all the things that we don't have. But that's besides the point. So just to give you a little breakdown, and if you want more information on the DISC, I'd be happy to, do a deeper dive and do a whole episode on the DISC assessment. I find it fascinating. But essentially, there's 4 categories. And for example, one of the personality kinds is a D. And a D is somebody who doesn't care, isn't really like factoring in emotion. I mean, we all purchase with emotion. We know this, but they're not super people oriented. They're more task oriented. They want the cold, hard facts. They want to make a decision quickly. They're not going to spend a lot of time going back and forth. They just want it done. They want it done right. They want it done quick. So if I have somebody on the phone and they're showing characteristics, there we go, got there eventually. If they're showing characteristics of a D, I know, okay, they're gonna want to know what the price is, and they're gonna want it quick. I'm gonna make sure as soon as I hop off this phone, I'm gonna get them that estimate. I'm gonna get it to them quick, and I'm gonna list all the facts. Whereas a C personality, on the other hand, is a lot more cautious. C's tend to want to know every little detail about the cleaning. They ask a lot of questions. They're not going to spend their money willy-nilly. They want to make sure that they're 100% comfortable with every part of the process. So if I have somebody on the other line that I believe to be a C based on the information given, I'm going to make sure that I explain every little detail to them, everything that's included in the cleaning, how they can pay, what our procedures are, what they can expect, what products we use, how long we're going to take. And chances are they're going to be asking me some of these questions, right? Which is how I determine that they're probably a C on the disc. But I'm going to make sure I take that a step further and really make sure that they understand and that they're comfortable the whole way. Now, there's also an I, which is what me and Holly are. We're very high on the I. That's somebody who's very extroverted, people-oriented, love to chat, like that one-on-one connection. And I love when I get an I on the phone, because an I, that's somebody who, I'm going to try to strike up conversation with. I might try to make a personal connection. Somebody tells me, oh yeah, I have a dog. I'm going to say, oh, what kind of dog? Oh, I love that breed. What's their name? And just little tiny things that just take it a step further. It kind of shows that you're not a robot reading from a script. You want to get to know them. You want to make that personal connection with them. And being that I'm an I actually do want to make that personal connection with them. If you are not, if you're more reserved, you want to fake it, honestly, to be blunt. You want to still, make sure that you are making that connection with them. And I mean, I'm going very surface level here. At the end of the day, even disc assessment aside, essentially, you just want to make sure that you are selling and catering to the client on the other line. Because I feel like a lot of us, what we do is we sell the way that we want to be sold to. But we have to remember, our clients aren't us. Not everybody wants to be sold to the way that you want to be sold to. Like, for me, if I'm going to be having strangers in my home, if I'm going to be, choosing a service, if I'm investing the money, I'm going to want to get to know the person on the other end of the phone. If they just, which happened when I called up some of my competitors, they just said, oh, it's going to be $160. That's it. They didn't, nurture the sale at all. I'm not going to go with them. I'm somebody that I want you to talk to me like I'm a friend. I want you to give me all the details. I want to know exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to go down. What is my $160 getting me? I want all that information. But some people aren't like that. Some people can't be bothered. Some people are calling me up when they have literally a 5-minute break at work and they just want the price. They just want to know it's going to be clean. That's the price. You can come Wednesday. Great. Click. So you kind of have to be a detective, gauge how they want to be sold to, and kind of pivot accordingly. And it takes practice. It takes time. It's a little uncomfortable at first, and people, which, we all know this, people are not black and white. Most people, it's not like I'm just an I on the disc or I'm just a D or an S or whatever. People are mixed. People have a little bit of, different personality types in them. So you really kind of just have to be intuitive with people, match their energy, and do your best to sell to them in the way that you think that they want to be sold to. So just quick recap. 3 tips to help you nail that sale. Ooh, that rhymed. Dr. Seuss over here. All right. Number 1, answer your damn phone. Answer the phone. If you let it go to voicemail, call them right back. If they call after hours, call them as soon as you get into your office. All right. Number 2, take detailed notes. All the information your clients are giving you is pure gold. Make sure you are writing it down. And number 3, cater to the person on the other line and sell to them the way that they want to be sold to. I hope this was helpful. Was this helpful? I feel like whenever I do an episode alone, I'm just talking to myself and I'm not getting any feedback. So I'm like, was this helpful? Did this make sense? So I would really, really appreciate it if you could give me some feedback. If you're a service-based business, I really think that these 3 tips can really help you, especially if you're in the cleaning business. I feel like these tips, I wish I would have learned these tips when I first started selling out. When I first transitioned to selling over the phone, man, it was rough. I was scared. I remember the first time I made a sales call, I think Holly has footage. I was like this. I was like, it's going to be $220. Is that okay? Is that too much? And now I'm like, I'm so comfortable. I'm so natural. It's just a person on the other end. They have a need. I have something that can cater to that need. I want to help them. I want to be that judgment-free zone for them. I want to be able to fix that pain point that they have in their life. And it's just, you gotta breathe. You gotta breathe and relax, and it'll be all good. But I hope this was helpful. Please reach out to me if this was helpful. We have some super, super, super exciting guests lined up. We are recording with 2 different guests next week, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but they are pretty incredible. I am so excited. I know that our listeners are going to love both of these guests. They have something very different to bring to the table. And speaking of, if you are interested in being a guest on an episode, we do have an application. You can go fill it out right at hustleduppodcast.com. Application right there. It's super quick, just a few simple questions. You do not have to be a business owner. If you are a business owner, great. But, we talk about life on this podcast. You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be a cleaning business owner to be a guest on this podcast. We just want to make more connections and chat about life and the struggles of being a busy bee in this crazy day and age. All right. And as always, all of our social medias will be listed in the description below. But in the meantime, you can go look us up on Instagram at Hustled Up Podcast. You can check out our business Instagram and TikTok at Chores and More. Go follow me on everything at Laura Anatoli, and you can go check out Holly on Instagram and TikTok at Planning and Polish. And again, all of that will be listed below. If you have a question or an episode topic, definitely reach out to us with an email, hustleduppodcast@gmail.com. And in the meantime, I hope that you all have such a kick-ass week, and we will see you next time. Bye.